Good morning and welcome. I see some familiar faces today, but I also see some new faces. So for those who don't know me, my name is Bill Massey and I'm a sergeant with the Chatham Police Department. As the department's community resource officer, I'm honored to have the opportunity to welcome you all here today for this very important and special day for the Chatham Police Department as well as for our community. Before we begin, I would like to ask for your indulgence in a brief moment of silence in honor of retired Deputy Chief of the Chatham Fire Department, Dick Hunter, who recently passed unexpectedly. Thank you. The tradition of a change of command ceremony dates back as far as 100 BC, when during the time of the Roman legions, the outgoing commander would ceremoniously pass a baton to the incoming commander. The ceremony served two purposes. The first was to provide closure for the outgoing command. The second was to provide the new command with a fresh start. As we honor that tradition today and acknowledge those important values, we stand here as a department and as a community ready for the next chapter for the Chatham Police Department and its vibrant history. Could I ask Town Clerk Julie Smith to come to the podium for the swearing in of our new Chief of Police?
Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially perform the duties imposed upon you by your appointment as Police Chief, according to the Town Charter, the bylaws of Chatham, and the laws of the Commonwealth?
I do.
And now please let me introduce our town manager, Jill Goldsmith, for the presentation of the Chief's Badge.
Before I do that, I have a few words to say. Today is truly bittersweet. Mark Polina was one of the first people I met when I became town manager. I was instantly drawn to his commitment to community, commitment to decency, and commitment to the men and women who served under him. I will miss his leadership as Chief of Police, but I know the town is in very good hands with my appointment of Police Chief Mike Anderson. As I spent more time with Mike Anderson over the years, I can honestly say that I am constantly reminded of what a truly remarkable person he is. I cannot think of a better person to continue the traditions that Mark Polina set forth, as well as the hard work and dedication of our prior police chiefs. I believe that Mike Anderson will build upon that foundation to lead the department into the future. I'm very excited and proud to appoint Mike Anderson as the Chatham Police Chief. Thank you. That is the Chief's badge.
Thanks, everybody. If I could just call my family up, my wife, Kathy, my daughters, Brooke and Ashley.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you to Chief's family. Could I at this time invite Chief Paulina to the podium to administer the Law Enforcement Oath of Honor?
Chief, raise your right hand. On my honor,
On my honor,
I will never betray
I'll never betray
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will treat all individuals
I'll treat all individuals
with dignity and respect
with dignity and respect,
and ensure that my actions
and ensure that my actions
are dedicated to ensuring the safety of my community
are dedicated to the ensuring of the safety of my community
and the preservation of human life.
and the preservation of human life.
I will always have the courage
I'll always have the courage
to hold myself
to hold myself
and others accountable for our actions.
and others accountable for our actions.
I will always maintain
I'll always maintain
the highest ethical standards
the highest ethical standards
and uphold the values
and uphold the values
of my community
of my community
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
Thank you, Chief. And now please join me in welcoming Chatham Chief of Police, Michael Anderson, to the podium.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Chief Paulina. On March 1st, 1922, the Chatham Police Department was born. This year, we are celebrating our 100th anniversary. Today, I will become Chatham's 8th Chief of Police. Today is also a day that we recognize the men and women of your Chatham Police Department, as it will be an honor for me to lead them. I'd like to start off with some recognitions. We have some very special guests with us today. These honored guests are the past Chatham police chiefs and their family members. Let me introduce you to them. Chatham's first police chief was Everett Gunboat Eldridge. The name Gunboat came from his days as a professional boxer. He was named chief in 1922 and he served 2 terms, from 1922 to 1928, and again from 28 to 49. He's represented by his grandson, Everett Hunky Eldridge. Could you come up here? Chatham's second chief of police is a bit of a mystery. Gunboat Eldridge stepped down from his position in 1928, and the second chief was named Millard Eldridge. He served for only 1 year, and he was not related. Gunboat returned in 1928 to finish out his career, and to be quite honest, I really can't find too much about Millard Eldridge, and if anybody knows anything about him, please let me know. Benjamin Rollins was Chatham's third chief of police. He served the department from 1924 to 1964, being chief from 49 to 64. Under Chief Rollins, the department grew from 5 officers to 11. There are many pictures of Chief Rollins patrolling how he liked best on his Indian motorcycle, even in the winter. Representing Chief Rollins is his son, Benjamin. Benjamin, could you come up, please? David Nickerson was Chatham's 4th chief of police. He served the department from 1950 to 1981, being chief from 64 to 81. David Nickerson was Chatham's first modern chief, recognizing the needs for and the creation of several specialty positions, some which are still filled today, including court prosecutor and juvenile officer. Here today is Chief Nickerson's son, Ben Nickerson. Barry Eldridge was Chatham's 5th Chief of Police. He served the department from 1961 to 1997, being chief from 81 to 1997. Until today, Chief Eldridge was the last chief promoted from within the department. Chief Eldridge was known for many things, but in my opinion, what he's known best for is that I was his last hire as a police officer before he retired. So Chief Eldridge, I thank you. Here today is Chief Eldridge's son, David Eldridge, and Chief Eldridge's daughter, Tanya Khalil. Could you guys come up? Kevin Fitzgibbons was Chatham's 6th Chief of Police. He came here from the Sturbridge Police Department and was the chief from 1997 to 2006. He's here today. We would both agree that I was sort of a challenge to Chief Fitzgibbons. At the time, I was a patrol officer, and I was the police union president for 3 contracts. I hope I'm not the one that gave you all that gray hair. I can't thank you enough, Chief, for the opportunities that you afforded me and the ranks that you promoted me to and from. Under Chief Fitzgibbons, I attained the ranks of detective, sergeant, and detective sergeant, and I could not be here today without your guidance, your mentorship, and your patience, and I thank you. Mark Paulina is here today. He is Chatham's 7th Chief of Police. He came to us from Hartford, Connecticut in 2006. It was he who emphasized customer service, accountability, and problem solving. Under his leadership, the current culture of our agency has been established, and it is this culture that I plan on continuing and improving. Again, I am not here today without your guidance and your trust. Trust to be your lieutenant and trust to be your deputy chief. I thank you. I have some gifts to give these guys. So these are challenge coins that we made, and they're only made for members of the department. On the front, it has our modern day patch with our 100th anniversary, and on the back, it simply reads, "Thank you for your service." Almost done. So I just have a few more people to thank. Mom, for those who you don't know, I was the only child, and my father passed away many years ago. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to see all of this. Thank you for everything, Mom. You and I both avoid the spotlight, and we've already had this conversation. You guys go. I don't know if you want. To my wife, Kathy. When we met, I was a patrol officer here, and since then, she's been this cop's wife for 20 years. I could not have asked for a more understanding and patient person to share this journey with. Throughout all of the challenges of being the spouse of a police officer, I've never heard a complaint. I love you very much. My daughters, Ashley and Brooke, I could not be any prouder of both of you, and you know that. There's several here today that I've worked with and worked for. I want to thank all of you for being important influences of my career, both personally and professionally. If I've missed anyone individually, I apologize, because there's too damn many. To the members of the Select Board, I thank you for trusting me to provide our community with the highest level of public safety and public service. To the Chatham Police Department, I could not be prouder to be your chief. I will do my best to provide you all with a safe work environment, opportunities for specialization, opportunities for professional development, and an atmosphere where doing the extra will now be the new normal. I want to remind you to use me as an example of taking all of those opportunities that my past chiefs afforded me and maximizing them. I want to assure you that the future leadership from this department can be found right here. So what does tomorrow look like? We have another set of coins that are available to the public, and they have four of our mottos. They represent some of our core values. One is integrity. We will adhere to our moral and ethical principles. We will continue to do the right thing even if no one is watching. We will include the following as a basis for our organizational integrity, including 1, creating and maintaining and communicating our rules and policies. Number 2, detecting, investigating, and fairly disciplining rule violators. Number 3, eliminate officer silence about violations. We will improve the way we hire and train new officers. And we will improve the way we collect data to track and memorialize our encounters with citizens. Number 2 is service. The department's high level of customer service is second to none. Currently, we are experiencing a favorable trend of having a low crime rate. This creates opportunities for officers to take more time, pay more attention, and find creative solutions to our community's problems. These problems may sound insignificant to you, but if it is you who is in crisis, your issue is indeed significant. I'd like to add here what I feel the most important part of good service is empathy. Empathy is the identification with or vicariously experiencing the emotions or thoughts or attitudes of another. To feel what others are feeling as if you're feeling it yourself. I understand the inherent dangers of our profession. However, it is my opinion that a lot of negatively publicized police encounters to the public could have been avoided with just a little bit more empathy from law enforcement. Number 3 is dedication. We recognize that policing is truly a unique profession. We're awake while you sleep. We're cold while you're warm. We're wet when you're dry. We're on duty when you're off. We miss family. We miss weekends. We miss events and other things that most of you guys take for granted. On average, we spend more time with each other at work than we do with our own families. But this is what we volunteered for. We all share the calling to serve, and we are all dedicated to this call. And number 4 is tradition. We will continue to honor the legacy of the men and women who wore this uniform and served Chatham. We will remember the way they served you in the past. We will continue to proudly serve you today, and we will maintain the foundations so that tradition of service can succeed for the next 100 years. Again, to all of you here today, I thank you all for this opportunity. On behalf of the men and women of your police department, we thank you for your support. And in closing, if anybody has any questions, comments, complaints, or commendations, these doors behind me are always open. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. On behalf of Chief Anderson and the Chatham Police Department, I'd like to thank you all for coming today in support of our new chief and in support of our department. Please feel free to join us across the way in the lower level at the town annex for a brief reception. Thank you.